Good evening, friends, and welcome back to Live Reality Games, the place where we make our favorite shows into our reality. We are here tonight. It's been a while. I've missed you guys. It's fun to be back. And tonight we are here to talk about not one, but we are recapping 2 episodes of Live to Give's Fans versus Favorites versus Famous, where you're going to see more celebrities than Celebrity Big Brother. Episode 9 and episode 10. We're going to start with Line in the Sand. With me as my co-host tonight, Alex. Welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you for having the people we will have joining us in just a bit. I'm excited to be here and talk about some great episodes.
Let me ask you, has there been a lot of snow days for you this year?
We don't, with COVID, we haven't really gotten a lot of are you talking about school snow days? Or are you talking about days of snow? School snow days. Yeah, we haven't got, they aren't as flexible because people can do stuff from home now. But we have gotten a lot of snow in Minnesota, so that's not so fun. But
okay, we've had 7 in Michigan. I know.
I'm a little jealous of Michigan then.
Right? And we have another storm hitting us next week. So anyways, we're not here to talk about education, guys. We're here to talk about strategy and maybe educating some players, who knows. But with us tonight are the eliminated players. So if you have not been spoiled and you want to watch the episodes, you need to head over to YouTube right now and head over and watch episode 9 called Line in the Sand and episode 10, Go Big or Go Home. They are fantastic. And in fact, I want to steal ideas because they're so twisty, so crazy. I'll spoil something. It's the merge. And it is wild and out of control. And I have some hot takes as well and some constructive criticism. So it's going to be all over the place.
We'll take
Okay, sweet, Alex. So we're going to bring in our special guests, the eliminated players from the 2 episodes. First up with us is the remarkable, one of my favorites from the old gray/silver tribe, Cam. Welcome.
Hello, everybody.
I miss you so much, and I just gotta say, I was saying it earlier, your hair looks gorgeous, my friend.
Thank you. I miss you as well. I had to show off the hair transplant. I think I brought it up in episode 1, the glow up. We have to bring up the hair for this one. I would be silly not to.
I'm so envious. I love it. So I have a lot to talk to you about, Cam, about this episode, because I think so much happens, and if you don't get voted out, I think maybe this changes trajectory for many people in the game. So I have some opinions about this. But again, no spoilers past episode 10. That's all we're going to talk about. Also with us, the man, the myth, the legend, Elder.
Hey, guys. Happy to be here. This will be fun and painful at the same time. Just like playing Survivor, right?
That's true. Isn't that weird? It is fun, it is painful. And would you do it again, Elder?
I plan on it.
Yeah, good.
I mean, so. Maybe not Live to Give, but something else for sure. Yeah.
So we're going to get right into this. We're covering 2 episodes, so I don't want to dawdle and waste any time. This is episode 9, Line in the Sand. I think there's a couple other good quotes that could have been potential titles. I really liked our host, Brandon Nelson's, "You hit that platform." And I also loved Elder's, "It's a battle of 12 armies right now."
I've got to say, can I cut in? I hate to cut in this early, but that was actually in contention for one of the episode titles we were considering doing. So, Kirk, that's a good one on you for noticing.
Oh my gosh!
When I said it in the confessional, I will admit that I thought, I got a shot at the episode title with that one. But I'm happy, because I got one in episode 1, so I'm fine. I don't need any more, so it's good. Spread the love.
For sure. So this is the merge episode. This is the aftermath of one of the craziest rounds of Survivor I've ever gotten to witness in real life. Alex, do you kind of want to break down what just happened prior to episode 9 starting? We had 3 tribes going to tribal council.
Yeah, so I mean, the players had found out they were on the jury, And in the episode, it looked like some of them didn't know what was going on. They all pretty much knew it was just the jury. There was no merge quite yet. Let's be real. And then the morning they were given they're put onto one of 3 tribes of 5 that were randomly selected. And then one person from each tribe won immunity. And we had what was the most explosive, I would say, tribal council in Live to Give history, in which we had Cam survive and Janicki went home. And then we also had 2 of some of the most emotional tribal councils we've ever had in Live to Give history, in Elder surviving that as well, and Elaine going home, not to his choice. It wasn't up to him. And then also Megan going home. So it was a pretty, it's still, I will say, still my favorite episode of Live to Give thus far.
It was brutal, dude. Like, I lived through it. I watched it. And this is the weird thing, because I have a terrible memory, you guys. But when I saw these 3 huge personalities leave at the same time, I honestly had a different memory of the experience. I remembered some of these people going further, and that's just that outside perspective, not being in the game. But their personalities were so large, and I was just like, boom, boom, boom. And then here we are, 12 people standing, 9 guys and 3 girls are left. We just eliminated 3 of the biggest personalities from the girls. So we have Serena, Angie, and Elizabeth left, and a ton of dudes. And ironically, and I still believe in the curse of that shirt, there's 4 people from the fake original divisions of the fans versus favorites versus famous. And I found that remarkable, Alex, that at this point in the game, it was even at this point.
Yeah, we did not expect it to be like that. Like, we didn't expect it to be a total blowout. There was nobody in at any point, like, that we were talking preseason, where people were like, I want to go for all the famous, or I want to go for all the it was just like people were like, I want to play the game and I want to play it with people I connect with, which was refreshing. So we didn't think it was going to be a complete blowout, but when we were sitting there at the merge and we realized going into tribal council, which is getting a little bit ahead of ourselves, but when we realized, we have enough to have them literally sit fans, favorites, famous, we were like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that worked out so perfectly. But
yeah, and I think it's kind of cool too, because like it's the original starting tribes that we were on, like a bunch of purples went home, and then some fans went home, and then like a bunch of favorites went home. So when we're going into that jury, it was like green is taking over. Green is this overwhelming majority.
Yeah.
And then for it to come out so equally and balanced, like I thought that we didn't plan that, obviously. The Janicki and Megan going out just seemed like coincidental that they were like the vote out at that point. So definitely was interesting to see it split 4-4-4 so cleanly.
Yeah, I know I had done a lot of work in the previous rounds before that triple boot episode to sort of let people know, hey, I don't think anyone cares about these shirts anymore. Whether it's true or not, I was just trying to like create this world where the shirts don't matter, because at that point, my shirt color was the most prevalent. And so I didn't want people to be thinking about that. And, frankly, I think the starting tribes, for me, I was more loyal to my starting tribe than I was to, like, Cam and I were technically wearing the same shirt color, but, Cam was my enemy. He stole my green ball. I got to get revenge, So I wasn't thinking as much about the shirts, and I didn't want anyone else to think that way either.
Nice.
Well, and one other thing, and this was something I was going to bring up in the last podcast, but I forgot to do, not to go back to kind of episode 8, but when we were in those 3 tribes of 5, originally the twist was going to be, like, me and Brandon changed this. I should say Brandon. Brandon was the one who was strong against this. I was still for it, but it was going to be actually separated by fans, favorites, famous. We wanted you guys to prove that you could survive around in those tribe divisions right before the merge. The only issue we had is we didn't know if all of a sudden we were going to have 2 people from the fans left that had to be on a tribe together. So we ended up nixing that because of it. But I think it was 4, 5, 6 at that point. So we still could have done it. It would have changed the entirety of the game from that point if we would have forced you guys to be on that. And then going into the merge, it wouldn't have been an even split because there would have only been 3 fans, 4 famous, and 5 favorites, I think.
Oh, so you're saying for the triple, you organize us based on our shirt color, and then we vote out each
Yeah, same thing where you guys compete in. Yeah, so that was originally the twist. We ended up changing it.
Oh yeah, I would have gone home for sure had you done that. Absolutely, I think I would have gone home.
I would have pushed for it. I would have pushed for it.
Of course,
I would have pushed it later in the episode.
Yeah.
A lot of could have, would have, should have.
Because there's no way Serena would have voted me out if she felt like the numbers were against me. So, like, yeah, I don't think I would have had to win.
You won the eating challenge, so you might have been safe.
Yeah, yeah, that's true.
And I go home, and then everyone is shocked, and everyone cries.
And I also don't think Elaine quits then, to be fully honest. I'm not going to say who, because I don't want to totally bully somebody, but I don't feel like she's as connected with the people on the famous tribe, so I don't feel like she feels at that point she needs to step out. Maybe I'm wrong.
Oh, yeah, maybe she would have voted someone out.
So it totally changes. It totally changes the game.
Yeah.
But.
Wow. That would be crazy. I mean, Elaine had a very interesting trajectory in this experience that really saved Bergen. Bergen also is eliminated in this episode. In these episodes, we'll get into that. He could not join us this evening, but sends his best. The episode, it really stuck out to me, both episodes 9 and 10, Alex. I felt like there was we got a lot of Elizabeth's game. And what she's doing, what she's thinking. We start with her in tears, and we see her go from tears to no fears.
Yeah, I've said this a couple of times before. Elizabeth, not necessarily at like the start of the game, but throughout the entire game in person, I was just the most impressed and kind of shocked by it. Not that I didn't have high hopes for Elizabeth. But I remember I have her number, and at the jury feast, I had texted her because I knew she didn't have her phone. So I was like, I just want her to read this when she gets out. But I was like, I'm so proud of you. I did not expect you to go this far. Like, you did amazing. And then all of a sudden she survives that. And then after that, we have that explosive tribal council, and then she's emotional, and she has this great confessional about the charity she's competing for. So I think it was one of those things that when she got more comfortable, and she talked about this in the episode, she's more of an introvert. She's better in smaller groups. Once she was more familiar, she found that small group. She really started playing hard, and it just wasn't necessarily to the same, not necessarily the same style of everybody else, but that doesn't need to be to do well in the game. So,
yeah, I spent the first 2 episodes in confessional saying I wanted to vote Elizabeth out. So, but Elizabeth became a huge part of my game. We voted together. I think we voted together 5 straight tribals between the pre-merge and the merge, including these 2. Cam, we both voted for Cam, and then we both voted for Bergen in the second episode. So like her and I were definitely in sync, and there wasn't really a lot of conversation like between us, like, hey, we're working together, right? Like I don't feel like either of us needed to like make the other one feel good. I did check in at one point. I was like, hey, we're still cool, right? We're working together. And, the fact of the matter is the parchment told me she was with me. So that's all I really needed to know. She's a great loyal player and someone who can easily go far if she makes the merge in any game, I think.
Yeah. And honestly, like I played with her a bunch too. Obviously, she switched the vote to save me. So like just getting to know her first and foremost, she's super like her and Derek were like the babies of the cast in a way. Like she's the same age that I was when I played season 2. And like 2 very different people. Like Elizabeth at 21 is way more mature than I am now. Just like emotional intelligence as well. So I'm like, how are you doing this at 21? I will never know. But she is just so like loyal and just like very comforting and calm, and like the aftermath of the Janicki vote out too in this episode. Like I obviously didn't get to see the confessional, but when you're watching it, it's just like such a strong reaction because she cares so deeply. She's making these deep connections like the entire time. I was like, I feel so good with Elizabeth, and I think that's part of her game that she doesn't get enough credit for. It's not as flashy as like I'm playing this idol on this person goes home. But it's still like this huge, impactful, like she made an impression on me. Like I consider her a very like close person after this game. And I think that's a really cool thing about Elizabeth.
Yeah, I'm jealous of her game. I wish I could play like it.
Same. We could never do that. We're just
she's really good.
Yeah. In China's job.
Yeah, it was like you said, it's such authentic emotion she's letting us into in her confessionals. It was a really nice moment. I also enjoyed her conversation with Derek. She has a quote where she says, "I think we have to lay low, even though it's a risk to take." She's alluding that it might be good for both of their game, and I'm curious to see how that plays out. But I loved Derek's reaction to discovering that people went through his bag, specifically Serena.
Yeah, I mean, I was obviously on the receiving end of those little vicious rumors. I would never even think to go through someone's bag just because well, at that point too, we're on the winning tribe, and I just gone to like 4 back-to-back tribals. I was like, enough. Let me breathe for 2 seconds. I don't want to play this game. But then for him to figure out that the backpack wasn't zipped at the top, it was zipped on the side, he was there to play the game, and like he was playing the game really well. So for me, I was like, I don't know how I got caught into this. I'm sorry, Serena. I have to give him the truth in this situation. So that's why I outed Serena as the one to go through his bag. But like, I still don't think he believed me too much. And that's.
Well, and I don't know if the viewers caught this either, because it was such. Although the scene was a very important scene, it was a very quick scene too. I mean, she's trying to go through the bag fast. You weren't even sitting at the camp when it happened. There were 5 people sitting at camp, and you were not one of the 5. So him whether or not, I know Derek in the confessional was saying he said Cam and one other name, and I couldn't figure it out. Maybe it was Serena. Yeah. But even if he said it was Serena, he was partially true, and he was still trying to throw you under the bus. So I'd be interested to see what his logic was for why Cam.
Yeah.
Well, I think Jack said Cam. Jack told him Cam is why.
That's what I'm saying. I'm wondering why Jack. Jack?
No, I want to hear what Jack has to say. Yeah, I mean, Jack he's playing the game for sure. You know, in that moment.
Obviously, Jack knew about my idol because of Stan when they made that exchange, and Jack and Stan were pretty close outside of the game. So I obviously wasn't the closest with Jack, so that's probably why I felt comfortable throwing my name. But I remember too, like obviously a lot of things don't make the edit, but Derek did show me the idol before we went to Tribal, and I had to play my best. Oh my God, I had no idea, Derek. And like in that moment, I was almost like, do I tell him that Serena went through his bag? I didn't think he wasn't voting with us, so I didn't want to like throw Serena, who was my close ally, under the bus. So I was like, oh no, Derek, whoa, you have the idol. But I don't think that helped with my case of like playing off that I was surprised he had an idol. But
speaking of idols, Cam.
Oh my God.
You kind of have a experience with idols in this season. Do you want to?
No idols ever again.
Do you just want to talk about it a little bit? Okay,
well, first off, that edit was so harsh. It's like Derek talking about, oh, Cam is so honest, Cam is so great, and then out of nowhere, oh, I have the idol. But I mean, I stumbled across the first one. I was not looking for an idol. Kirk, as my witness, was not. I found it. I just stumbled upon it. McCrae saw me pull it, and I was like, okay, cool. This is going to be my one idol. I played it wrong. Never going to find one again. And then when we go to the purple tribe, we obviously are too busy scrambling before the tribal. But after the tribal, we have 2 more tribals to go through before we kind of regroup. So everyone's kind of looking for idols. I wasn't really all full-heartedly looking because I truly thought there's been so many tribes on the purple tribe that like someone had to find it, especially if it was as easy as mine to find.
You know the story behind this, right? We'll get to it.
They moved it, didn't they?
Yeah. When I was on the purple tribe for a million rounds in a row, I was not looking for the idol, but nobody found it because apparently it was in like way too hard of a spot to find. And they moved it to an easier spot right before you found it.
Yeah. Well, the thing is too, like it was like I was walking, then out of nowhere there's like a bag, and I like knew what to look for because I found the first one. I was like, I'm looking for like a burlap sack, and then it was right at my like feet. Elizabeth was like 5 feet away, walking to her confessional, turned around and picked it up, and that was history.
Feels good, right?
I felt good the first time. Would have been cool to play it right, but oh well. Spoiler alert.
Also want to say, though, the first one was not hitting that hard. It's just that the purple camp, out of all of the camps, well, besides the orange one, was massive. So, like, the spot we first had it in was actually, I remember when me and Naomi were originally hiding them, we looked at each other and were like, is this one too easy? And we're like, oh, no, somebody will find it. They'll be up all night looking. But that first night, you guys were winning.
We didn't look.
Yeah, and you had no reason to. You were kind of safe. You had the ability to like to relax and have conversations, so you didn't have to worry about the idol. Meanwhile, nobody finds it the rest of the day, and then so we're like, okay, we got to.
Yeah, but we swapped, and it was a bunch of idol hunters the next day, and nobody still found it. So
it takes a real idol expert to find that one.
Well, I mean, it wasn't as easy as my idol from season 4 when it was just wrapped up in the tarp. So, I can only find them if they're right in front of me.
Me too.
So one of the twists for Live to Give, if you're new to the series, is that the idols have sponsors, and it's very important to the series that these idols are used in the game. So if you're wondering why production would do that, it goes absolutely into the game and all of the rules within it. But speaking of different power, before I get to this, Cam, you have a connection with Carter with this idol. You start talking to him and making this connection. I was really curious about this. Did you make other connections? Were you as obvious to others about you having the idol?
I told literally everyone and their mother the first time I had an idol. Like literally, I was like, everyone, guess what? I found the idol, so no one knows that I'm lying about not having it. And that didn't work out great for me, obviously. So this time I was like, okay, well, Carter just saved me in like a pretty big visceral way with this last vote out when he like voted out Janicki. He stuck strong with that. So like I knew that I couldn't tell too many people, but in order for him to like see that I was ready to work with him, I found it. And I also wanted to just be like, don't worry about finding the purple idol. And this will come in a little bit later in the round, but I was also like, let's do a big move with this idol. And you can't really do that when only you know you have the idol. So I wanted to tell one or two. I think I told James when we got to the merge as well. He didn't want to tell me he had the idol, but that's neither here nor there. But I told him because in my mind, it was like, okay, I haven't really played the game with Carter and James. I've played with Bergen and Serena. They kind of just know I trust them. This is a better way. Like I hadn't even been to a tribal with James. So I was like, this is a good way to show, hey, we're working together in our big ego alliance. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, one of the advantages to telling all those people is that hopefully someone gives you a heads up when you're getting votes, right?
Exactly. That would have been great this round.
Hey, James.
Yeah, thanks for popping in, James. So that was really interesting. I thought it was really strategic. I loved watching that because so much. If you don't know, I was one of the filmographers and a tribe leads. I was kind of a swing hitter where I went where I was needed. And no one told me it was Cam, LOL. There's so many blindsides going on at this part of the game where people feel out of the loop. I mean, who says that over and over again, out of the loop? So that was a quote this episode. I can't remember, but
James.
Oh, it was James. It was James. He was like, I'm out of the loop, out of the loop, out of the loop. And I was like, okay.
I think everyone felt that way, but
yeah, that was
especially episode 9. It was like, I know I was way out of the loop for your blind side. Like I didn't find out about it till right before, and I thought it was me. So, it was information was. People were still playing things really close to the vest. They were trying not to like say names and go hard at any one particular person. And what we really needed was someone to go, here's what we're doing, and tell people and say, this is what we needed a leader. And to be honest, it was Lance for me, from my perspective in that episode. Lance was the first person who came up to me and said, this is what we're doing. Everybody else was like, what do you want to do? Should we do this? Should we do that? And as soon as Lance said that, I was like, perfect, let's do it.
And then on the other side of things, though, I think it was Carter and I kind of leading that you vote out Elder, just because and I think James towards the end there, when we told him, like, we were the only ones who knew that you didn't have the idol. So this whole split vote master manipulation, like smoke and mirrors plan, everyone was taking it at face value. And looking back, obviously, like I said, like everyone's name as a split vote, I think. I was throwing out Jack to Ryan. I was throwing out Angie to Elizabeth, just not playing the cleanliest game. So, I mean, I think in my head, though, I was like, oh, they're not going home. They have nothing to worry about. Elder's not going to play the idol that's in my pocket. So there's just like two different sides. And I think like both of those kind of got like mixed up, and then these middle people kind of formed, and then they ultimately went a certain way with the vote.
Yeah. I got to give a lot of credit to Lance there. And I do think that, Derek too, sort of pulling in Angie and Elizabeth. They definitely, I remember when we were walking around and everybody was talking, Derek, Angie, Elizabeth, and Jack really seemed like a team to me, with Ryan sort of connected with them as well. And I spoke to James a ton, both of these rounds. Like, he was one of the first people I went to talk to, because for me, I did want James in the game, and I had heard his name a lot, and I knew people were going to be gunning for him. So my efforts were just like, let's get it to be anyone but me and James at this point. And then in the next round, after your boot, the only name James said to me was Lance, and I was like, well, I can't do Lance because he literally just saved me. And if James had said just about anyone else, I probably would have been on board. But so it was tough. It was tough to like navigate these like allegiances that I wanted to have versus the ones that I actually did have versus like who I thought was coming for me. It was very hard, those 2 rounds, for sure.
I mean, while you're watching it, you see two people have a conversation, Elder, and then it's literally like, okay, we're both going to go talk to somebody else. And I don't know which moment this happens, but one of my favorite moments from you, and I'm probably jumping the gun here, is when you're having a conversation. It might not even be this episode, but you say, I need to go babysit James.
Yeah. Yeah. That's like because I just knew James is so good, right? He's so strategic, he's so charming, like he's the full package when it comes to a Survivor player. So for me, I just like, as anytime I spend away from him is time for him to like put bugs in people's ears about me, right? And it seems like he felt the same way about me. So in a way, I think we both were kind of just like orbiting each other the whole game, where we could never really get on the same page, which is unfortunate because we probably could have done a lot of damage together. It's just, we just didn't play enough of the early game together to justify working together later, to be able to trust each other.
It always makes sense when you don't have that pre-game, early game relationship built to help you out in merge. It's so hard to get from under that sometimes. I want to talk about something that some players maybe have missed because it was the last episode. I believe it was the last episode where Bergen finds an advantage underneath the merge feast table. Now, I think I was filming. I was aware there was a clue at the merge feast, and I didn't see a single thing happen. I didn't see a person pick something up. And I was just going to ask you two if you saw Bergen grab the advantage.
No. I was sitting right next to him at the front, like at the table where across from it was, had no idea. But like after that whole day, and then what they didn't show you too is the other side of the cameras with like the brightest lights flashing on us, like after being like starving and like whatever for 2 days. I'm like, no one look at me, no one talk to me. Let me just eat this burger and go to bed. Like that was the whole vibe. So when Bergen's that whole moment, I was like, could not have seen that coming from a mile away.
Yeah. I think I was cursed by having played the previous season because I was looking in the same spots that it was hidden in my season, which obviously, looking back, of course, Alex is never going to put it in the same spot 2 seasons in a row, but I was still looking like around the food and not at the tables where we're going to sit. So
I looked through the plates.
Same. Yeah, of course.
With Live to Give, it could be a plate. I mean, it's a paperweight, right? In season, what season is it? The one that's at Tribal Council, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Rabbit. Yeah.
Like blows my mind. It's like right in front of you. It's like, so anything at Live to Give could be an idol. Be cautious, be curious, look at everything. I think if it says beware, maybe think about it for a second.
Well, I also want to say, I feel like Bergen's advantage kind of was a beware advantage because when you really think about it, with how many people did end up seeing him take it, which he did take it fast. Like Nicole, our winner from, well, not to spoil anything, but our winner from season 4, if you haven't watched season 4, sorry. She was the one who taped it up, and she's like, I'm taping this thing up tight. If somebody's going to grab it, they're going to make sure that they have to fight for it. But he grabbed that thing as fast as he could. A lot of people still saw it. but it wasn't an advantage that even helped him in the game. It was help. Well, I mean, it did if he made it to the final tribal council, but with people seeing that he got that, they're going to think it's an idle clue. They're going to think it's an extra vote. And even if they do find out what it is, all they're going to want to do is vote him out so that they get an extra vote.
Exactly.
So it kind of was a risky thing to be able to find. But
well, not even that, but also I would vote him out. Not to say Bergen, but someone with that advantage. Like I would vote them out because if they made it to the final 3, they automatically get an extra vote. That's how mine would work. Like that's not an advantage you want broadcasted to everyone as the merge fee, a jury fee.
Yeah, he tells Serena in the episode, and I'm just going like, I just know Serena's going, oh, so now I can vote you out. Great. Like I could just see her doing the math. Serena. So smart. Every single confessional from her is like spot on reads of the game. The point when when we had the swappy thing with the 3 tribes of 5, and she's like, Lance and Elder want to go for like my closest allies. I may have to swap. Like so smart of her and like just so flexible. Like I can't play like that. I get loyal and I stick with the people that like I know are going to vote with me. But Serena doesn't care. She'll just go with anyone, and like they won't even notice that she swapped.
Swing vote arena.
Yeah. She has a very interesting gameplay because when you really think about it, she's like Sandra, where she's like anyone but me, but she makes strong connections so that she can fit in wherever. And then she's also good at challenges, so it's like she's kind of like the perfect package in that sense. It's impressive to see her play, and I think especially having made it so far her first season, then to come back here. And now even make it to the merge, which is also the same thing you can say for Carter and James. Like I was shocked when all 3 of them made it there as past finalists. I'm like, oh my gosh,
Carter had an easier path, I would say, than Serena. But
I'll agree with that. But that's a whole different story.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing about Serena's game in both season 4 and 5 is like it's never was easy for her. Like she had to go to a lot of tribals, and she's always just in the mix, like. Playing super strategically, but also nobody really notices that she's playing strategically. Like very, very good at reading people. And if you want a good read on the game, just watch her confessionals. She'll tell you what's happening.
I mean, yeah, me, Bergen, and Serena obviously played a lot of the game together, but within that, I think Serena played a more important part just in my game personally, just because she was that calming force. Because I am paranoid. I am up here. I'm playing 4D chess while everyone else is playing checkers in my mind. And like Serena brings it back down. Like, I don't think you have to do all that. Let's just do this. And that's the kind of energy she has in the game where I'm like, okay, well, I don't want to vote you out, even though I know you're thinking how I'm thinking, but just a lot slower, calmer, more rational, one might say. So like, that's where you're like, she's like the silent threat for sure of like any season she plays in.
Yeah, I agree with Serena has some great reads on the game. And I also feel like players just so far don't have a read on Serena. Like there's something she does that she's got a great poker face, whether it's intentional or not. And she doesn't show much, which is such an asset to her gameplay. I got to do an apology really quick because earlier on in the recaps, I was on I think a different podcast, and I went to so many Survivor events this summer. I kind of mixed some events up in my head. And of course, at Live to Give, I really wasn't privy to all the information. I only had a certain area I was at. So I was really confused about Bergen's advantage, and I really wasn't asking people about it. So I remember saying in a podcast, wouldn't it be such a great idea if somebody had 2 votes at Final Tribal Council? And Kristen Williams posts in the comments, that's what happened at the finale to Live to Give. And that became the first official spoiler of the season. And I was like, Kristen, delete. So,
well, to be honest, I missed it. So it was a good subtle thing. It was all fine.
I felt pretty bad about it, but I find it ironic too. Like Bergen has this awesome advantage, and he tells Serena about it. But Serena, she's got an advantage too, because out of her bag came some chapstick.
Oh yeah, how'd you get that in there?
ask any CBS survivor. Ask Poverty, because I heard Poverty hid chapstick in her tampon in Heroes versus Villains. She learned it from Kathy Sleckman from Micronesia. So they would hide things sometimes in tampons and they could get away with it. So this is completely a rumor. but Kathy Sleckman told me this, so blame her. So yeah, she snuck chapstick in, or it was her luxury.
I honestly think we had chapstick on the packing list. I don't know if we ever wrote it out, to be honest with you. Maybe we did, and I just don't remember it. But I feel like if somebody would have asked me, I get chapped lips. So I feel for people that get like chapped lips, especially in the summer when it's like it's the same thing as sunscreen except for just for your lips. So like
you I don't know. I don't see why good, right? Like
what a quote. Same with sunscreen but for your lips.
But also, I do feel like we tortured them enough with food. Like they had no food throughout the entire weekend, and Elder's face says it all. But they had no food other than the jury feast and then starting the game. That was it. We had no rewards this season other than the first one, which the losing tribe ended up getting. Other than that, there was really not a whole lot of anything. So
it was rough. You didn't even have. Yeah, that was the losing tribe reward. Yeah. I mean, you didn't even have Gatorade with calories. You gave us Powerade Zero. Like I couldn't even get calories from the Gatorade, man. It was brutal, for sure. I think it was much more brutal than season 4, but also it was an extra day, so that plays a big part too. But
absolutely. But then you guys got to do so much more gameplay because of the extra day, which is so fun. Shout out really quick to Lance in this episode for saying LRGs, and you guys kept it in, Alex. Wow. Thank you so much, my friend. But let's get right to stealing the bacon, because that is the challenge in episode 9. And Alex, I love this version. It was fantastic. It's a little twist. Usually we see 2 teams. We usually see this during the tribal phase. Sometimes we see 2 players from each side going to catch a ring, but this is a little bit different. How did you guys come up with this, Alex?
We came up with it on accident because this is the only time in Live to Give history we actually changed the order of a challenge mid-season as it was going on. When we had like the strong winning tribe and the constantly losing tribe, that was supposed to be a challenge for it. And we figured it's probably not a good idea if we have.
I want to see Elizabeth versus Carter.
So that's what we were envisioning.
That would have been a tragedy.
And honestly, I don't even think we realized it until after the running challenge. And it wasn't that, like, honestly, I do think, and this is no shade to anybody, I think there are some women on that tribe, Elaine, that could have taken out some of the guys on the other tribe. But it wasn't something we wanted to necessarily it wasn't something we wanted to outwardly try, because I feel like that would have been more defeating. So we switched the owl one. So it was originally supposed to be tribal. And then we're like, okay, well, we got to switch this up. So let's just move this and we'll do it tournament style at the merge when we got to that round. And we also didn't expect such an uneven gender.
Well, that worked out in your favor that there was.
It did end up working out, because if it would have been like 3, or if it would have been 6-6, it would have been a lot harder. And I will also say, I know we commented on the gender difference at the beginning, but it was something I don't even think the players realized, because when you look at it, there was 4 men voted out right away, and then there were some women, and I just think the game was going so fast. I don't even know if that was anything that ever went through their head. I think it was the moment you guys made the merge and you're all standing there, you're like, it's literally just...
No, it was when the triple was all women.
That's what I'm saying. When you guys came back,
that's when I was like,
all 3 of them are gone.
And also, like, by the way, like, if we hadn't voted Daniel out of that other tribe, like, it would have been all women there too. Like,
yeah,
like, just because the tribe was 8 women and 2 men primarily, but.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, we had to make some changes, some things we didn't expect. We don't ever plan on changing stuff mid-season, but we felt that was a justified change that was worthy of being made.
It worked out.
Hate the challenge. Never bring it back.
But the blue challenge?
The steal the bacon. Hate it. Next topic.
No, can we actually talk about Serena dragging and I've talked to both of them about it, so they would joke about it too. But Elizabeth just hanging on for dear life. Like, I hope I survive this. Angie trying, but like just eventually letting Serena drag him through the mud. It was awesome to watch him.
The people that are good at that challenge, it's like really fun to watch. But to be on the receiving end as just like a tiny little petite woman like myself, like I couldn't even like watching me and Derek against Lance. I was like, okay, wait, we never stood a chance. But in that moment, I convinced myself. I was hyping myself up. I was like, I got this, no problem.
Well, you could have Bergened it. Bergen's so fast, he just grabbed it before anyone else could.
And then like put his head underneath and like do like some sort of like.
You didn't even have to do that.
Moment. It was intense too. Like watching that last round with like Lance and Carter and Bergen. I was like, I don't like this. I think I turned around and said, "Let me know when it's over." And then Lance wins, and I was like, "Yay, Lance! Go, good for you." It got intense.
It was super intense.
I don't think Lance saved himself. I don't think Lance's name came up, or would have come up had he been available to be voted for. But,
he earned that immunity, though.
Yeah, for sure.
One of the most physical challenges so far. So absolutely one of the ones to get.
Especially after just what's gone down in the last tribal council, I'm sure immunity would feel massively good at this juncture for most players in the game. Watching Serena dominate that was great. The way it worked out for the guys is they played it in heats, and the winner of each heat would then face off. It actually worked out to be perfect numbers, Alex. So for an adjustment, it was beautiful. Good choice by your team. I loved Bergen's move. I wish he was here. I wanted to talk to Bergen about this a little bit. Well, first he sped out and beat you, Elder. I mean, just speed. Who would have thought that?
Well, Bergen, I found this out later, but he's like a real honest to goodness athlete, played baseball and all various sports in high school and college. Like, he's good. He's very good athletically. I am not. I'm a nerd. I make music for a living and play video games for fun. Like, there's no way I can rush out there, even if I'm fast off the blocks. So that challenge was never going to be one I could win anyways. Didn't matter.
So the last round comes, and it was the round Cam can't watch because it did get a little intense. People were digging deep. Lance is like trying to shake them off. But I wanted to ask Bergen this. So if he ever hears this, Lance hits the goal, and he does Lance is a legend in LRGs. He's played a few. He's probably played Steal the Bacon before, or a version of this game, and he knows to reach out for that goal line even if you're not close to it, because sometimes that somebody might move that inch, and that's all it takes. And we watch, when you see three people playing, there's different tension at different points on this buoy, right? So when you're playing with one person, I'm just playing against Alex, it's in one direction, but they're playing a completely different game. And I thought, how interesting could this be if it was the tribal phase 2 where one tribe's dominating? Would we see two players like work together? Well, we see Bergen almost, when people are off, like shifted off their weight, Bergen kind of swings the whole thing around, it looks like, trying to gain momentum, maybe to swipe the buoy from them and snatch it away. But Lance has just enough room to kind of get past that goal line. It's a really intense finish. I absolutely adored it. And I think Bergen actually almost took it right there. He almost could have gotten it.
Yeah, I mean, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, you go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Okay. So just from talking to Bergen after, he was, and his move was very smart, like trying to get him. Bergen, and he can correct me later if I'm wrong, was very unaware of how close Lance was to his platform when he did that. So when he was making that move, he thought he was like somewhat in the middle of him and Lance. He didn't realize that Lance was literally like 2 feet away, and all he had to do was reach out his arm. So that was definitely, I think, a regret of Bergen's later on, because he's then goes into the merge worry that he's thinking that he's going after Carter and that he made like a public statement. But yeah, it was an interesting move. It was one that would have been very interesting to see how it played out had they been more in the middle.
Yeah, it confused the crap out of me. I was like, wait, are Lance and Bergen working together? I had no idea. Like, what is this alliance I don't know about? It really made me nervous because I thought I was with Lance. And so, like, I was happy Lance won, but I didn't know that Bergen was with Lance. So I don't think he was, but it was just, for other reasons. But
Yeah.
Really,
and on the other side of the disillusion that I was on, I saw that and I had the Big Ego Alliance, lovingly called. And I was like, okay, well then, yeah, they voted out Elaine, no problem. Like, no idea that Lance and Elder were kind of gunning for Bergen that past round. So I was like, we're cool. Lance and Bergen are working together. Kind of weird that they had to team up against Carter, who's in our Big Ego Alliance. But for me, I thought he completely threw that, but he was like, no, I didn't try to do that. Like, this was after the game that I found out. He's like, oh, I didn't do that on purpose.
So Serena and Lance are both immune at what is going to be a very important tribal council for everybody. I have a quick story to tell. As the episode shows, James goes to the bathroom and he walks by a tree and he finds the merge idol, I think, right? Yeah. And we can kind of blame me for this. So I don't know if Alex even knows this, maybe. So I was never a tribe handler at this particular location. I had filmed just a couple of times prior to this. And I was leading the group back in. And the players told me this afterwards, that when I led them in, I walked straight through the woods, straight to the tarp that was on the ground. But usually they would take a path around. Production had just hid the idol in the tree that I took them directly past. So I literally walked the tribe single file past the idol. And I think James probably saw something right then, which then occurred for him to turn it around. But I thought the other Jamie that was on production with us was like, Kirk, you took him the wrong way.
Yeah. But to your point earlier, though, we want all the idols found at a certain point because of our sponsors. We want to make sure that they're at least shown because they give so much to our event. So we do want them being found. So I don't think it was bad that you brought them past there. I do remember hearing this story now. They probably thought, what's going on if we're taking this shorter path? But yeah, no, it ended up working out.
Yeah. And fun fact about that too, James the whole time was like, we walked right past it. He had the idol from yeah, exactly. But also fun story about that idol. So we were being walked to by Naomi. I think it was like after the tribes of 3. We were kind of going into that merge round. I have to shout out Naomi because I know she was on, she would bring it up. But she was hiding that idol while I was talking to her. And I said, hey, Naomi, where's the idol? Where are you putting it for the merge round? And it was fully in her sweatshirt pocket at that moment. And she loves to bring that up to me now. So she was just about to hide it for James to find it, apparently.
I think this is, for future Live to Give players, maybe being first in line is good. I think it's just a byproduct of if you guys want the idols to be found, you're going to put them in places where they're findable. So being the first person to get there has to be helpful, right?
And now I'm making a note of that.
No, but in the past, you also given advantages to people who were last in line. So,
if it makes you feel better, though, Kirk, I didn't see the idol, even though you walked us right by it. So.
Okay, I didn't either. Clearly, I had no idea where it was.
James likes to say it was right in front of us. I was like, I was not paying attention then at all, babes, not at all.
Well, that's the other thing. I don't know I've only played a few live reality games, but from what I've experienced, I feel like Live to Give's land this year, there was a lot of woodsy areas. So it's not just you're walking into 4 trees and it's not that hard to find something. There's a lot around you when you're walking in.
There's a million places it could have been hidden. I actually thought during the round in episode 9 that I had found it. I swear I saw a little purple thing or something in a little hole in the ground, but there were people around me and I was like, I'm going to go to the bathroom. If you guys want to go talk to other people, I'm just going to go right here off the edge of the thing. Because I was like, I think I found it. And then I stood there looking for it for way too long, losing all this time. It was not there, but could have been, it could have been anywhere. There's a million spots for it.
There were so many of those little holes in the ground. And at times I was like, what made these? Where did these come from? And what's in it?
Yeah. Don't reach into holes in the ground in the woods. That's my advice. Even if you think there might be an idol in there, it's dangerous.
So there's so much strategy that goes on in both of these episodes. And Cam, Elder, both of you are really making a lot of moves in the best way possible for yourself. I don't even know where to begin, honestly. There's literally so much happening.
Yeah, there is so much happening. Yeah,
indeed, there is.
So let me I'll ask a real direct question. Cam, you're thinking Elder is overzealous at this point. Elder, I don't really know why you don't want to work with Cam yet, but I'm sure you'll emphasize it. But the two of you are not going to work together at this juncture.
No way. We spoke to each other for like 1 minute, maybe
at the social or at
the game? No. In the strategizing round.
Yeah. I think at one point we were talking in like a somewhat like of a me, James Carter, you type moment, and then I was like, "Hey, do you want to talk, just me and you?" And it seems like very forced. So I was like,
"Oh, it was awful.
Get this out of the way."
Yeah, it's like I guess let's check that off the list. But like, I knew you weren't going to give me anything, and I was going to try not to give you anything. So,
no. But the thing is, I do have an excuse for this because it's like a compliment sandwich in a way. But I couldn't work with you, Elder, because you were playing my game that I play, which is like moving everything around, playing the 4D chess of it all. And also, I do think you're one of like the very few on our favorites tribe that was cast or recast as a favorite for their gameplay. Like Angie, we didn't even see her play the game, and she's a favorite. Me and Megan were playing on iPhones and not really having a lot of gameplay to back it up. But you were kind of known as a favorite as this gamer, and you touched on it before. So I was like, absolutely, I'm going to get Elder out, and it's going to be the most extravagant plan ever.
I mean, this is why I tried to raise a ton of money, because I knew if I was eligible to be voted out first, I probably would have been, and especially after Charlie couldn't play anymore, because Charlie was also cast because he played a strong, sneaky, smart game. So, I think I remember thinking about that when Charlie was on. I thought Charlie was going to be on my starting tribe. It was like, oh, Charlie and I literally can't work together because ours are going to be the only two names anyone says until we're both gone, So, I knew that I'd have that target. But the reason I wanted to vote you out, Cam, in particular, is because I felt you were tight with the people that I thought. So I could see that there was this what was the word that
Big Ego Alliance?
The Big Ego Alliance. I could sort of see that division.
I'm pointing that, Derek. That's I'm reclaiming
it. And frankly, it was Lance who sort of got me on that road right after we voted out Elaine. We went back to camp, and I was sitting with Lance and Serena, and I was like, okay, so I'm with you guys. What's the plan? What do we do next? And Lance is like, well, I'm worried about James and the people that are with him. And he listed you, he listed Carter, he listed Bergen and Ryan. And I was like, and James and Lance was like, we got to start picking them off. Maybe we can use the other people that are kind of like in the middle or whatever to do that. And so when we got there, to me, it was like, I don't want James to go. Like whether or not, I'm like, if James is the general, let's pick off the lieutenants, right? So for me, it was like Cam's fine, Bergen's fine. I had been on a tribe with Carter a couple times, so I was like trying to not vote out Carter if possible. So, my list of people I wanted out was pretty small, and it was just basically people that were working with James because I wanted James to work with me instead.
Yeah. Well, the funny thing about the Big Ego Alliance too is that this is me, hand to God, of palm on the Bible. I did not start that. But it was me up, and I was like, absolutely, I want to be in this alliance. It's everyone that I like and everyone that I get along with and everyone that I've been playing the game with. So I was like, and in that too, I was like, well, I know James and Carter from playing with them in season 2. Bergen, Serena, and I have been on a tribe together and voted together. But also Lance and Serena and I volunteered together on season 3. So I was like, if we do turn on each other at any point, I at least won't be the first one, or I'll be like a little privy to it. Hindsight's 2020. I know, but I think what it was Lance and Serena were really in that swing between like this. They could have stuck with the majority of it all, but then things got muddy with the split vote plan. So they felt more comfortable like having this like exit plan of attacking James and his loyal knights, as we were called, probably. But.
Lieutenants, I called you.
Exactly. And well, like, also, I take it as a badge of honor. Like, if you guys wanted to get me out instead of James, who is this big winner, like he won season 2, he won the Amazing Race 32. Like, if I'm the bigger fish to fry, or if I'm a pawn in his game and you guys are too afraid to tackle him, oh well. But if I was to go out anyway, it had to be with an idol in my pocket, the most dramatic thing ever. So.
I also want to add, though, too, because I've played Live to Give, 2 seasons, but the one that was like recorded, I played with Cam, and I'd played games similar with Cam leading up to that. We used to do like a essentially backyard Big Brother game, and I knew how Cam played, but in our first run around, we didn't. There were a lot of external and internal factors that affected a lot of people's ability to play their full game. Is
very
kind of
diplomatic, very diplomatic.
Thank you, Cam. But with that being said, I think what Cam, like we had talked when we were going through the cast, we had a lot of returning people apply, and I really said like we did not get to see a lot of Cam's game in for his first go around. I really think that we should give him an opportunity to show it, and I think this season Cam went above and beyond in showing that. We got to see, and I mean this is the best way possible, Cam, but we got to see his big personality. I think there's no denying that. We got to see some great gameplay. We got to see some mistakes, but those are bound to happen too. So it was really, for me, it was awesome getting to see kind of Cam's growth from his first season to his second, even though it didn't end up in the way that he wanted it to go.
And I actually paid Alex to say that. So
thank you for sticking to the $25.
Thank you for sticking to the script. Best money I've ever spent. But I mean, like, just like in hindsight, like in any of these games I play, I just know I'll be perceived as a big target because I have that big personality. AKA, I'm just dramatic with my reactions and how I move and groove. So like this time around was like, I'm going to lean into it. I knew that I was going to play a big game, make big mistakes, but then my whole gameplay would be to shift from those. I didn't have another option if I wanted to play like my truest, most authentic game possible. So
yeah,
I leaned into it and it got me where it got me.
I mean, listen, very memorable. I mean, you were memorable in season 3 too. Like I rewatched it in particular, just to watch the people that I thought I was going to be a starting tribe with, you. And for a while it was Olivia as well. And I remember watching your season and really focusing on your game in that season. And I did think you got screwed. And I thought like your confessionals were just far and above higher quality than everyone else's. And so after watching, I was like, oh, even though you didn't make it far, I could see why you were coming back. So it was, I was definitely afraid of you for sure.
And I actually paid Elder to say that too. And thank you for sticking to the script with that as well.
I appreciate, I'm cashing the check later today. Is it cool? Will it clear?
Perfect. All $5.
All right.
Cam, you've never paid me for any
like, obviously, like compliments. Like I said before, like if I was to go out any which way, I'm glad I kind of got like, I mean, the past vote out, or the Janicki vote out, I should say, like that was a huge moment. And like, for me, like that was like a come back to the game type moment that like I could escape a vote out at tribal council. To me, like anything after that, I was like, well, that was a cool thing that I can look back on and be proud of for like how I played the game and show how much I cared about it. So like after that, I had the idol in my pocket, and then I was like riding a high still probably, but not the best, cleanest gameplay at this merge round for your board.
Yeah, I was filthy too. Like, there's no way around it. I was talking to way too many people.
Yeah.
It
just got like, especially that round, I just remember it being like that huge mad scramble that everyone's talking about, but like you can't even like keep up with it with cameras. Like there was so many conversations that were probably missed, and like even like from hearing what people were telling me and like just the overall dialogue around it, and then watching it in edit, I'm like, I don't even feel like I have a good understanding of what happened, and I lived through it. So I don't know. Crazy round for sure.
So Janicki has a question. We've already spoken with Elder about this, but Cam, would you ever play Live to Give or another Survivor game again?
I'm asking my therapist that right now. No, I'm kidding. I obviously care about Live to Give a lot, and like live reality games is like a really cool community. So close off of that experience. Like it did get heated, and I think it might have been like the COVID of it all, like being freshly back. But this game, and like I think you can see in the edit, got very personal to people, not in like a bad way, but it just felt like there was that extra level this time around of like, we haven't seen each other in a while. We're kind of going back to this like weird strategic gameplay, whatever you want to call it. But I put a lot of myself in that, and watching it back, even like it's traumatic, I'm not going to lie. So give me some downtime. Right now I'm saying no, but I'm sure if Alex asked me in like 3 years, I'll be like, fine, after enough bullying.
Well, I want to give you guys some credit because based on our conversation here, it shows that you guys had a lot of self-awareness coming into this game. You realized kind of where you would stand, what your threat level would be. Both of you leaned into certain aspects, but you also did things to try to change that threat level. Like Elder, you're talking about the way you would speak with people, specifically like, is this group a problem? I'm not going to talk about this group, or whether you do mention people to others. And I find that really good gameplay, and that's why it was so riveting to watch. One of the hardest parts for me to watch in this episode was when Serena finds out Cam is the target. And while it's very hard to read Serena's face, I did get the sense of kind of like a deer in headlights look, and I couldn't tell if that was on purpose or if the information was legit coming to her. This is the first time I've heard this, and Serena's relationships at this point, they're all over the place, and she's got to make a decision at this point. And that I was very interested in seeing that play out.
Yeah. I mean, I think I was the one who informed her, or at least sort of was the first person to say like, hey, talk to Lance. He wants to do Cam. And, you know, in the moment watching it back, I'm really sort of embarrassed about my tone and the way I was speaking to Serena. I think I was so hyped up from the game and so tired and so hungry and all of the blah, 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 excuses. But like my tone was very rushed and very like condescending in a way. And I apologized to her via DM. I personally don't like the way I spoke to her, but the information that I gave her about, hey, Cam's the new target. They think they're splitting between me and Jack, but really we're doing Cam. Everybody else, these are the people that are on board, blah, blah, blah. Like my read from her at that moment was like, great, she's going to do it because me and Lance want to do it, you know? And at that point, I thought Lance and Serena and that was my three. That's who I wanted to be working with. And I felt like the feeling was at least 50% mutual. So, you know, I don't really recall reading that she was upset about that, but I also didn't really know that her and Cam were as tight as they were.
Yeah. And I think just like going off of that, like Serena's gameplay is making you feel comfortable with her as a alliance member, because I was in the same boat, obviously on the wrong end of things, that she had to draw that line in the sand, as she said, and she picked a side. But like even then, like I felt so unwaveringly like loyal to Serena and confident in her vote that like the reason I didn't play my idol was two parts. Like I didn't think Serena would be the one to flip, and like with that, I thought Lance's vote kind of comes with that, just because we had that big alliance. And then also Derek and Elizabeth, we just had that very emotional, heated tribal. And like they said I think Derek said in his confessional, but like we really did feel closer after that. Like that was a very big, emotional, tense situation. And then we kind of came back and like we did our hugs, we cried it out a little bit, and then we made a game plan, like us four, me, Elizabeth, Carter, and Derek. So I was like, I don't think I should play this right now. But like Serena and all of them, even like Derek and Elizabeth, did a really good job of like bluffing my ass. Bluffing my butt and like being like, you what are you talking about? We're gonna do this. Others going home, and then we're gonna be fine. So I think it's like kudos to her gameplay of just like getting all of this information and then knowing what to do with it.
Yeah.
Taking us back just a little bit, Elder, what went through your head when you saw both Elaine and Janicki voted out?
No, it was Megan too. So like Megan and Janicki, we were the second tribe to go to tribal, I believe, right? In that three vote. So I saw Janicki over there. Janicki walks in on the jury, and I looked at Lance like, do we need to mix this up? Who's Elaine voting for? I whispered to Lance. I was like, do we know who Elaine's voting for? Because if she's voting for Bergen, then maybe we can just force Elaine's hand, right? But neither of us knew who she was voting for, so we couldn't really risk it. We could have forced a tie and then made Elaine choose. But honestly, like, there was just no way I was going to disrespect Elaine's wishes at that point. Just no way. So I didn't consider it for long. But seeing Janicki there was like, oh my God, I can't. Now I'm about to lose Elaine too. This is bad, bad, bad. Really bad for my game. And I said it in Tribal in one of these episodes, like, I lost 3 back-to-back allies right before the merge. Like, I don't have anybody. You know, I was trying to downplay my game and my position in the game. And I do think it helped because the non-big egos were coming to me to like use me as a vote. But it didn't help get me off the top of the Minority Alliance's hit list. So
Cam doesn't get the inkling to play the idol. We get a vote for Jack, 3 votes for Elder, and the rest for Cam. And Cam is eliminated. It was rough and tough for me to watch. This was my buddy from the original tribe I got to be a part of. This is my first time at Live to Give. So I was kind of rooting for all of the people on the original silver team. We were the team that got first essentially dissolved. So we had a campsite for one night. So I was so rooting for you, dude. And then then I got to give you a hug afterwards. That was kind of nice. Couldn't do that prior. So we're no longer even. We're not 4-4-4 with the original t-shirt. So my theory is the curse is lifted and we're moving on to a different phase of the game. So this is episode 10, Go Big or Go Home. And there's a few more quotes that I think make great episode titles. I really like, this is where I wrote it down. James, I think it was James. It's never fun to not be in the loop. I think that was him. I also liked, I'm playing this game right now, not in the past.
Who said that one? Now I'm curious. I need to go back and watch.
I was trying to remember. Serena?
Maybe.
I think Serena. Serena said it at Tribal.
I thought it was Tribal, yeah. But my favorite quote is Jack's. It's like prom.
That's what got them eliminated from the challenge too, because when they were playing it, Angie started laughing and then they got off balance.
Oh yeah, so we'll get James just told us it's Serena for sure. So yes, we'll get there. Actually, we're there right away. Alex, it's the start of the episode. So this is sometimes in LRGs, time is of the essence, and we move directly from a tribal pretty quickly to a challenge. This is one of those moments. The episode starts right into it. And I don't remember what this challenge is called, but I wrote down close touching.
Keep holding on. You were very close.
So this is a crazy challenge, friends. So there are cinder blocks put all over the field, and everyone is randomly assigned a pair. This is the part that is really potentially deadly in Survivor, I think, depending on your placement in the game. But they're randomly assigned a pair, and then the goal is you just have to balance on this cinder block with your partner. I hope you don't have big feet, Elder.
Well, it wasn't exactly random, not to correct you on your own show.
Sorry, my bad.
It was randomly determined who got to choose their partner first. So James got pulled first, and he snapped off Elizabeth, the obvious. And I don't remember who was next. I know Bergen chose me. Cam, you were not in the game. I'm sorry. Yeah, so it was Megan and who? Megan and...
Not Megan.
I think it went like
Angie and Jack.
We remember James picking Elizabeth.
Yeah, that's all that mattered.
And then Jack picked Angie.
Yep.
And then Bergen picked you. Carter picked Serena. And then
that's right. Yeah. Lance got the advantage, which we'll talk about later. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I did not have high hopes for Bergen and I in the moment, but we exceeded my expectations by quite a while. And I thought we had a chance of winning it maybe until I closed my eyes a little too early. I think if I had waited till the last second, maybe we would have gotten them to fall. I don't know. Angie could stand with both feet on the thing. Like, ridiculous advantage. You know what I mean? Like she could stand both feet on it, and then James could, like she could, I know we had to go onto 1 foot at one point, but like there was enough room for her to put the full entirety of her feet on the thing.
Like, Elizabeth was just like so like just ready to go. She was just holding on. She's like, I can do this all day if I need to.
She was just like standing waiting for a bus, basically. It was like nothing. Bergen and I, all that whispering, which I thought maybe you would be able to get it in the show, but I guess the mics weren't good enough. But we talked strategy almost the entire time we were up there. And I don't know how long it was. It felt like 2 hours. I'm sure it was like 20 minutes, but if that.
It was very interesting to see, like, I obviously wasn't privy to any of this, but to see Bergen pick you and you guys talk, like even whisper at tribal, like best friends. I was like, what happened? I thought we were trying to vote this man out and now you're besties with them.
No, we weren't because we both were going to vote for each other. It was so dumb. It was such a waste of strategy energy. Like we should have just talked about anything but. But we were both like trying to play each other, I think. I mean, I think in those moments, kind of when you're like in the moment and you're like strategizing with someone, you think, well, maybe it is an option for me to work with Bergen. And I think I had every intention of like in the moment going, okay, well, I'm going to go back and see what I can do for Bergen. Right. And hopefully he'll do the same for me, and then you go back to camp and like the reality situation is we're both being targeted. So there's nothing we can do for each other. You know what I mean? But we tried while we were standing there, like, what can we do? How can we make this work together?
I was so rooting for the two of you. After seeing you receive 3 votes, I love to root for an underdog regardless of the situation if I'm just an observer. And I was like, please. And it's Elder with my guy Bergen, from like one of my last from the original Silver. And I'm like, please, guys, take it. But it was kind of like prom. I actually laughed most of the time watching this challenge. It was hilarious in real life. It was like it was like the ball scene in Cinderella, but like time froze and everyone's like in these weird like ballroom positions. And I gotta say, my hot take is there was a few of those cinder blocks that I wouldn't mind having to stand on. Just saying. But
smell our breath, so
that's true.
Yeah, it might be a little different when they're 3 days no showering, no hygiene. It might be a little different.
Yeah, that's true. Very true. The one criticism I have about this challenge, and this is not Live to Give specific, this happens in all LRGs, and it's something I'm just asking our community to think more about. I love endurance challenges. I think every Survivor fan loves a great endurance challenge. The hard part in LRGs is we don't have the luxury of time if they're going to go too long. So we want to do it. We want them to experience the intensity, the misery, whatever. But I don't like 1 foot transitions, the 1 foot. I feel like players, it sometimes ends it too quick. And I know it's the go-to. And I don't think that's what happened this time. You added another twist. Was that the close your eyes?
Yeah. That's when I think messed like
Elders group. Close my eyes, I was like falling over.
Yeah.
It was impossible to balance with my eyes closed. But I think we could have stood there for a lot longer had we not had to do that. So it was definitely an elimination method, but
yeah, they had to make a choice. We were stuck with time for sure. But I always, and this is something I've said to every LRG I've covered that does this. I as a community, what else can we do to make the challenges more difficult, but it doesn't always end in let's stand on 1 foot. I don't know what the answer to that is, and maybe there is no answer, but if I can push one thing for us to do for 2022, it's that. Let's see if we can create a new type of end to endurance that maybe is slightly different than some of the things we've seen before. But this was a great challenge. It was super interesting to watch. It made me laugh my ass off, but here we have James and Elizabeth winning immunity. James, this is just such a perfect time for him when he already has an idol in his pocket. I mean, talk about power.
I mean, he didn't need it. The only reason he needed it is because me and Bergen were going to win if he didn't. That's the only, like James probably wasn't going to be the target, and Elizabeth certainly wasn't going to be the target. And that's just my guess. The only way James would have been the target is if both Bergen and I were safe. So I get why he wanted to win. I certainly don't think he should have thrown it or anything, but like I don't think he needed it in a vacuum. That's my read. I don't know.
Yeah. So this is a crazy round, and Cam, as you were watching this, and I know you guys have talked post game. How much of what went down during this tribal council were you aware of at this moment? Alex, correct me if I'm wrong. The jury did not know this twist at tribal council. Am I correct?
Yeah, and that's something we, side note, are going to work on. We didn't tell the jury really any twists. I think there's at least one more that we wish we would have notified the jury of in advance, that stay tuned for. But yeah, they didn't know about this twist. So from my understanding, and Cam, you can correct me if I'm wrong, I think they just showed up and they're like, oh, there's 2 people immune, and
yeah,
that's that. And they also didn't know about the twist at the voting either.
Yeah. Well, where the jury was, you could kind of see them come from the path, and we would always like look and peek around and like see who had the necklace. And like I think 2 people at the same time were just like, oh, James, Elizabeth has it. So then we like were like a little confused about that. But then, not to jump around, but like the voting took 8 hours. Yeah. Obviously, with the editing magic, it was cut down and it looks gorgeous and fun and fresh. But like we were sitting there and it's like the sun is so bright. I was sitting there like, hurry the hell up. This is getting excruciating. We had no idea. We were just like, are they all just giving a monologue, a Shakespearean monologue in their voting confessional? Or like what's going on?
Well, and that was the funniest. That was the funniest part for me to hear and see after, is like, or even because I was always, when the votes are being cast, I'm always standing with the person behind the camera, just kind of collecting the votes, making sure that they're all tallied up, whatever. And every time somebody would come, I'm like, they're like, oh my God. Like as they're reading, I'm like, how are you surprised? You guys have been sitting there for like 30 minutes waiting to vote. Like, do you think they're just sitting here, like, as you said, like singing a song during their vote? Like, it was fascinating to me how they didn't, like, nobody caught on to it. And maybe they did and they just didn't say it and they were just trying to play up that they were surprised. But I think a lot of the shocked reactions were natural reactions.
Well, I know I couldn't even read the text because I was so tired and hungry. So for me, it was not like I just wasn't even thinking about how long it was taking. I was just trying not to like fall over. I was in a bad place at that point, just like physically and kind of emotionally too. So, you know, in a way it was a bit of a like relief that I was done, because I knew like, oh, I'm not going to be able to win anyways. I can't even read text that's put in front of me. You know what I mean? Like, how am I going to play this game if I can't even read? So I was feeling it pretty bad there anyways. And then like, you know, it wasn't really shown, but it was tough. And I elected not to choose a box because I went fourth and I assumed that 3 of the boxes had already been taken because I didn't understand that the boxes could be opened more than once. Like because I couldn't read.
But the thing that was so interesting is it's like this point of the game, again, as we said earlier, there's a lack of food. So I think so many people were exhausted. It was like interesting to see like the wear and tear of the game get to you, because we also see Lance reads his advantage at camp and he's going through and trying to decipher it. And it literally says, when given a choice at the voting podium, go for the right. And he's like, oh, I just need to sit on the right. Ooh. And it says right there. So, and it was funny because I've talked to him about it afterwards and he was laughing about it. But that's why it's like, for a viewer, you're probably like, Lance, why are you going for the third box? You're supposed to go for the one on the far right.
I didn't even notice.
Yeah, and so it was you have that, and then you also have Angie, who I think at least from where we're seeing from the outside looking in, seems to be in a relatively good position. Her name wasn't brought up strategy-wise that entire round. She's like, oh, I'm going to risk the vote. And then you all of a sudden have her voting for herself. And I don't know how much more we're going to talk about, but like with James potentially using his idol on Bergen, that could have sent Angie home. So there's a lot of like, I think, late game wear and tear of exhaustion and hunger that like is just messing with brains that you might not be able to make the same decision that you would have made hour 2 in the game.
And Alex, this is going to be a little nerdy. I'm a teacher. For those of you that don't know, I'm a high school drama and English teacher. But this actually makes me think of my students. I work in a low-income, impoverished school district, and my students that might not have access to food regularly, we see this all the time when they're reading informational text. They don't gather the information that they should out of the text. And I think Elder is absolutely talking about what physically happens to you. And this is days without food for these competitors at this point. So like you're saying, Alex, the wear and tear was very obvious. But we were so confused. I was so confused. I walked away from this tribe. I didn't always sit at every tribal during the voting, but I walked back and forth. I was pacing. I didn't want to be like that annoying person like in production, but I was so anxious because I couldn't figure out what was happening. So let's explain the twist to everybody clearly who's at home, because we can talk about strategy, but the strategy the players make, it's very interesting because they don't actually know until they reach the voting booth that two people are going home, and they have a very important decision to make after you read 3 paragraphs of text, what to do with your vote. And I think, Alex, you guys predicted and predated the shot in the dark. And I'm from Survivor 41 in a slightly different way, but it's actually not that different. And I think it's a lot cooler. So kudos to you guys. So essentially what happens is a player has to give up their vote, and then they can choose one of 4 boxes. Am I correct?
Yep.
And then Alex, what are in the 4 boxes?
Yeah, it actually ended up working out perfectly because we had 4 people take a box and they all chose each of the boxes. But we have the box on the far left. So when you're going up to vote, that had a self vote. So that's what Angie opened up. The one next to that was just 1 extra vote, and Bergen had that, so he got to cast 2 votes. And then the one that Lance picked, which was the 3rd one in, that one was no vote, so he just didn't get a vote at all. And then the 4th one, the furthest from the right, that is what James opened, and that was 2 extra votes. So James got to cast 3 votes at the Tribal Council.
Talk about power.
Put them all on me, I guess.
Yeah, well, and the other thing that was interesting is, again, being back there with the voting, and we don't see this in the episode in full context, but James, he reads it as 2 extra votes. He reads it as I get 2 votes. And then all of a sudden there's a moment, and it's not necessarily shown again in context, but James is like he realizes that he gets 3 votes, and it made it seem like he made his decision really quick. He was sitting back there thinking what do I do?
He has the idol too, so for him, he can single-handedly vote someone out almost by playing if he knows for sure Bergen's getting the most votes, he could put 2 on me and 1 on someone else, and then assuming he doesn't know, but assuming nobody has to vote for themselves, that 1 goes home. So he could have single-handedly, if he votes for Lance and 1 for Lance, 2 for me, and he plays the idol on Bergen, they get rid of both of us.
Yeah. And so it's very interesting because that's another thing too. Granted, maybe I don't know, but I think James, looking back, maybe he would have changed and done 1 vote on somebody else just in case of that situation, or if somebody else had an idol. It is.
It's really easy to sit here now and say, "Oh, he could have done this, he could have done that," but in the moment, I couldn't even read. So how would I have been able to make plays like that? Period. And having an idol on top of it just complicates it further.
Definitely. And it was a fun twist because it was one that we modified from season 3. So yeah, but
there you go.
I can verify 100% that James was you saw it in the episode. He's and if you're gonna make, I don't remember exactly what he said, but he's and I'm gonna use my idol on Bergen. If you want to make us a duo, I'll make us a duo. As he walks off, I'll.
Can't wait to interview James about why he didn't use his idol. When I saw that, my jaw dropped. I was oh, he actually considered using the idol. Insane.
Yeah, to James's point, though, me and Bergen and James had talked a little bit on the side, but if he does play that idol on Bergen, then, Elder is the one with the majority, but then it comes down to 1 vote Angie, 1 vote Carter, and I think Angie has enough votes that Carter goes home, which James is also aligned with. So he would have to do put 2 on Lance, 1 on Elder, and then, or put all 3 on Lance and play it on Bergen, but that you can't really see in the moment. So he wanted to play it safe.
Yes, I think so, James. I believe that's accurate. The other thing is like James also doesn't know who else does he doesn't know if Bergen even gets a vote, right?
Yeah.
Like he just doesn't know where all the other votes are going. I think it was smart. You have to play selfish in that moment because there's just too much information you don't know.
Yeah. It's easy for me watching back now to say, James, you should have done 2 on lames, played your idol, you would have been set. But again, like I knew it was happening and I had plenty of food and sleep, so I was good.
And I also think like James goes quickly after that if he does that too, because that just makes him a huge target.
True.
You know what I mean? But maybe not.
I've just so many thoughts. One of my favorite moments in this episode is when the 2 kings are kind of like having a conversation going at each other. It looked like King James versus King Lance, and it was one of my favorite moments, but speaking of Carter, I haven't spoken much about him. He's in a very precarious situation in these 2 episodes. We see an episode or the shift between the 2. We see in episode 9, Carter's feeling fairly confident. In fact, says like I'm talking with everybody. I'm making good relationships. He just made the connection with Cam. Blindside City happens. It's completely out of the loop, and now he feels like he's a fish out of water in some ways. He's kind of all over the place. It's so quick when you think of the amount of time that's passed in this game. It's just such a quick transition. I found that fascinating.
Yeah. Carter's game in season 2 is a whole lot different than season 5. Like season 2, he was already like always in the majority, and I think that's the kind of game he plays or is really good at playing. Is like him and I were kind of working together, but his role with my gameplay or his gameplay was just to like be that kind of like, this is what we're doing force, and this is how we're gonna do it. And he's very, very convincing about that. So to see him kind of be kind of on the right side with the Janicki, but not immediately, and then blindsided by my vote, and then like kind of forced his hand into voting for Bergen. Like he's had a tough go this season, to say the least.
Well, and honestly, I again playing with him in season 2, he was very like emotions aside. This is what's happening. This is what I need to do to get myself further. Game over, whatever. Like that's how he played. And I loved seeing, again, I was the outside looking in, but I loved seeing Carter's growth. He was showing emotion. And granted, he had gone through so much in the past few months. He had lost Sunday. And so I feel like seeing that growth, seeing that like this time he was competing for a charity that meant way more than just I'm playing Survivor because I want to play Survivor. It was something that I think I hope, and I've talked to him, and it sounds like this, like he was able to benefit so much from the event. And so it was great to see like how his game had changed and how he was able to bring emotion in this time. And he was able to like kind of make a multi-faceted, like a multi-dimensional game, I guess, if that makes any sense. Like he definitely adapted from his first time around.
Also the nicest guy around too, like generally so nice, like talking to him, like he is so kind and like generous, and like gameplay aside, like he was the first one to like, he was talking to Derek to make him feel included. Like that wasn't fake, even though like it could be construed any which way. Like that's just the kind of person Carter is like just a generally nice guy. So like
100%. Yeah.
Playing with him again was like amazing as well.
Yeah. I mean, I had a lot of conversations with him during strategizing. He was someone that I went to a lot. I did feel like it was tough. It was going to be tough for me to trust him. Obviously, I didn't key him in on the Cam blindside, but I felt like, I wanted to work with Carter if possible. And I also knew he was tight with James. So, that's the blessing and the curse of being super tight with someone, having an unspoken agreement with someone. Hey, we're not going to vote for each other. Is if everyone else sees it, they're not going to clue you in on anything. Because they know by telling you, they're telling that other person. So he was in a really tough spot because of his relationship with James. I think he would have done insanely well in every round. I think he would have been in the majority in every round. Not even talking about the future of the game, but just like he wouldn't have been left out of the loop had James been somehow voted out pre-merge. I honestly think if the perception was, hey, his number one's gone, he would have gotten so much more information.
Yeah, I only had one conversation with Carter. The thing I can say is that when I had a conversation with him, I felt like he's one of those individuals who really hears you and really listens. Like he was there and like he was receiving the conversation and adding to it. It was so wonderful human being. And he's in a tough spot in this episode. Yeah. At the end, he does receive one vote. That's not a self vote, right, Alex?
No, that was a vote from Serena because two of her closest allies in the game were the ones getting votes. So she was like, I'm just going to throw my vote away.
Interesting that she threw it on Carter.
Interesting. Yeah.
She was anti-Carter from the jump. Anti-Carter and James.
Every second you got her alone, she would just talk about how much she hated Carter. I'm kidding. Of course not.
So I wanted to switch gears a little bit and talk also about Angie. I haven't brought her up much in the episode. We've seen the last time I was on my episode that I spoke about, we got to see a lot of the dynamics developing between Elizabeth and Angie in that episode, and a lot of the like meek, small, tiny conversations happening with them. We get to see another one of those conversations here. And it's interesting, right? When somebody pops in, Angie immediately wants to stop talking to Elizabeth, and she literally says, I'm going to stop talking. And they both walk to go off in separate directions. We've seen Elizabeth in the last episode suggest to Derek, we need to lay low, and stopping talking to somebody is in some instances a strategy of laying low in that relationship conversation. So we see three players kind of actively using that strategy at the merge or the jury merge, whatever we call it. And I find that that's going to be interesting to see if that can play out, because we have a ton of dominant personalities and we have a few people actively trying to work against that. I think that's going to be interesting to see play out. Also, another interesting thing that might have some impact in the game is the conversation between, was it Bergen, Carter, and Lance? Or it was Bergen and Lance for sure. There was a little abrasiveness here that I felt watching it. I don't know if you did as well, Alex, but Lance is talking about, I was safe last round. I don't need to control it. And I think to me, that seems like Lance is trying to lower his threat level and make it be perceived like he's not controlling it. But I felt like Lance had more control than he's saying. Am I wrong here?
From outside looking in, I feel like Lance definitely he controlled the vote that happened at the top 12. But one thing that's not seen in the episode, I think, is the amount of with so many swaps, so many people were connected. So there were so many expectations of people communicating to other people for each other, because you didn't want to reveal who the alliance was. So as the Cam has been saying, that big ego alliance of 6, they were all supposed to be on the same page, but they didn't want to be seen together. So they were supposed to be communicating to one another through one another. So I think from seeing all things, I think Lance was expecting to have more conversations directly with Bergen, but Bergen was trying to talk to him as little as possible in terms of still maintaining that relationship. So I think in the episode, it's like Bergen's like, what's going on? Lance is like, what's going on? We're all kind of like, what's going on? Like nobody knows, but from putting all of the pieces, I think together, I think that's the best way to show it, because as Bergen says he feels like he's talking to Lance a lot. But I think they were all trying to, they didn't want to just sit there and be like, this is our 6, try to mess with us, because that didn't work so well for Cam in the first vote. So,
well, calm down. Oh my God, that was very hard. No, but I mean, not to back up too much, but with that whole plan too is we kind of had to understand this is our 6. We all felt, or at least Bergen, Carter, James, and myself felt confident in that 6, and we didn't think we were doing anything to set off any alarms. I was talking to Lance and Serena way more than I was talking to James and Carter on that winning tribe, just because Serena and Lance are close to my age. We have more in common. So it wasn't a matter of we didn't tell each other. And I pulled Lance for game chats. I pulled Serena for game chats all the time. No one more than the other. But I think that round, it was just like a little too, Carter and I would go off and talk to Derek and then this person, but Lance wasn't involved in like me and Lance would go to this person, make sure we're on the same page. So I think that's where Lance got a bit like worrisome that like us four, besides him and Serena, were closer and more of a threat to his game, to give him credit for that.
If I had to guess, and I'm totally guessing here, I would say that Lance probably looked at that alliance of 6 and saw this is literally 5 people that I'm going to have a hard time beating in a final 3. And he looked at the other 6 and he said, half of these people I got a good shot against probably. And so he thought maybe I'll take my chances with the other group. That's my guess. He could have thought that, he might not have, but
he also did think, again, this is just based off of confessionals, things that weren't aired. He did think he was on the bottom of that 6 as well.
Yeah. I mean,
because you have to, like, James and Carter were the final 2. Cam was on that same season. Bergen was on the Amazing Race, so that automatically paired him with the other Amazing Race person. So I think Lance had perceived. Yeah. I'm saying that's what they had perceived in the game, Kirk. I'm not saying that.
Okay, actually. I was confused. Okay.
He's the only fan on that tribe too, right? Like
exactly. So I think it's a lot of, like, again, one of those things in the game. You've got so much going on. You have to process everything to the best of your ability. Yeah. And hey, here's 15 minutes to decide who you're voting off. So,
Elder, when you say, I can't remember if it was a confessional, but you say I have a path forward with this group of 7, and we've been talking about alliance of 6. Do you kind of recall who was that group that you're referring to?
I believe it was just the 7 people that voted for Cam. So everybody but James, Carter, James, Carter, Bergen, basically.
Yep.
But a couple of those people obviously would have voted me out at the drop of the hat. So I think if that 7 had been able to stick together, if there hadn't been this twist where the minority alliance got to vote someone out, I think it's possible for me to maneuver in that group. Probably not for very long, but maybe with Lance and Serena, if we could pull one more person in, we have a shot. But I don't know. Like I felt like, the vote went my way. I voted with people. I'm going to stay loyal to those people now. That's what I was really thinking.
Absolutely makes sense. I just wanted some clarification to know kind of precisely where you were thinking, because it's kind of half of the players.
Yeah.
And then you guys head to the double Jeopardy, double whammy tribal-a-thon. Alex, it made me think a little bit, because this is a really interesting kind of round of Survivor. It made me think, what if every round of Survivor 2 people were voted out? And how that would change if players knew that, let's say, at the start of a game, and that's how a game was going to play out, and you knew there was always going to be a plurality, essentially, probably occurring. I'm just curious how that would end up changing gameplay and strategy, because now you no longer really want your name floating out there for any reason at all. I mean, you never do, but I think it's even tougher.
Yeah, it would change it so much so that I don't think I could ever play a game like that, because it would be so much thinking and like Elder Cam, they would probably do really well in it. They'd be able to be like, oh, so we need these numbers to do this, this, and this. I'd be like, just keep talking. Those are numbers to me. Like, okay, sure. So I think it's
even more important.
Yeah. So it'd be interesting. I think your point is valid. That's why we wanted to switch it up too, just see like what happens. I think it'd be more interesting to see now, looking back, like what would have happened if we told them at the beginning of the round the 2 people with the most votes going, because then then that is going to change the actual strategy at camp. I like the surprise, so I still like. Well, I mean, Elders, you don't like the surprise.
It's good TV, but I think if I had known about this twist, when James comes to me and says, "Hey, let's vote out Lance," I go, "Yeah, absolutely, let's fucking vote out Lance, no question." Because I just need to not be the target of anybody at that point.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I wouldn't have wanted Lance to go, but obviously Lance before me if it has to be anybody. So it does. It would have completely changed the way I played that round. Absolutely.
And it's interesting, Alex, because in hindsight's always 2020. There's another way you can do this, right? You can tell the players 2 people are voted out, but we don't tell you there's a shot in the dark. Or we tell you, guess what? There's going to be some crazy shot in the dark thing happening, but we're not going to tell you 2 people are being voted out. It's all better than Jeff Probst lying to you and taking away your immunity, regardless of the fact. So I'm here for the twist. I hope it comes up in more iterations. It was fantastic to watch, though. It confused us so much because this is how it's revealed too. I thought this was great how you chose it, but I was so confused. Brandon pulls out one parchment and goes, and with 6 votes, Bergen is eliminated. And we're all like, that's 1 vote. So confused.
I think you guys read the votes how you had to for that situation, right?
Yeah.
Because you can't just read the votes. Because then
it would have been a lot less, climatic. Because then it's like, here's 1 Carter, 1 Angie, and then 5 and 6 for Elder and Bergen. They're both going home.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. As soon as someone gets 2, it's over. So I think it was better TV, but
those on the land, though, they were probably like, what? Did Brandon just lose count in his head and think he just counted all the votes?
And that's how it was on the jury, too. Like, we had no idea what was taking so long. And then Brandon's kind of explaining what happened. And he's not doing it in a way that is, like, extra explanatory because y'all just voted. So us on the jury were like, okay, wait, there's 13 votes. Some people, what happened here? 2 people are going home. This happens. And then it just got really confusing. So like when Bergen, like who's the top fundraiser of the season, who's like a big figure in this like season, gets voted out with just 1 vote. We're like, what happened? And then Bergen sits right next to me. I'm like, what just happened? And he's like trying to like explain it to me, but he's like, I don't know. He just got voted out. So it was an interesting twist, to say the least, from all parts, cast, jury, and production, I'm sure.
And so we're going to give some props to Bergen. He did raise, and Ryan, you both raised exorbitant amount of money. He raised a ton for Michelle's place. I believe Bergen is going to be at Reality Rally with Jillian Larson, who organizes that event. Coming up this May. So if you'd like to meet him or maybe even play with him, you should definitely attend that event. Jillian's a big fan of Live to Give now. She's just kind of like gotten into like the LRG community and finding out about it. So she's super fascinated with this one. And she talked my ear off about you guys. And I was like, literally, I've been there for 1 summer. I'm just became part of the family. You want to talk to some other folks.
Was this Jillian that was originally going to play this season?
The Jillian from Survivor Gabon.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah. So she's absolutely fascinated. So she has a connection with Bergen. So that's how she got interested. So a shout out to them, and also a shout out to Bergen's class act exit. Nothing thrills me more than a player who turns around and just gives back a little love, brings back a little reality. He says, remember, this is a charity, folks. Let's do it for our charities. Don't take it too personal, but players are going to. It's Survivor, but I love a nice class act finish. That was beautiful. Yeah. And Elder, we were robbed of some more of your strategery.
Can't read text, about to pass out strategy. Yeah, we were really robbed.
Yeah.
I was just hanging on for dear life at that point. Trust me. Obviously it would have been fun to keep playing, but I'm just so happy to be a part of the Live to Give community, and to get to play the game twice was, obviously more than I ever expected. So, and just incredibly impressed with how much money Bergen raised. I remember on the jury, I was like, so you were number 1, like, how much did you raise? Did you beat Sarah's record? And he's like, oh yeah, I smashed it. Yeah, Bergen. I bowed down to that fundraising. That was incredible, because that's what the event's all about, ultimately.
Yeah. And working with Bergen too, like he's just like so dedicated and like focused. So like it didn't surprise me. Well, like obviously we had no idea what the number was, but like going back and like seeing the number that he raised, like when we were doing like the promotions for this, like it didn't surprise me at all, just because he's like so passionate and like just so emphatic with like everything he does. So like So much love for Bergen, and like that's like $16,000 is a crazy amount to raise for like that. I didn't even do like a 16th of that, and I struggled my ass off. Butt off, to make that happen. So major kudos to Bergen.
Major kudos, Bergen, and it was just his birthday, I believe. So happy birthday as well. Too bad you couldn't join us. And the fade looks amazing, Bergen. We love it.
She's glowing. She's gorgeous.
Yes, absolutely. Friends, this has been a blast reliving a crazy few hours of our lives together. Alex, when is the next episode dropping?
Next episode is this Sunday. It's episode 11. I don't know if the title is decided yet, but it is going to be this weekend. It is going to be Sunday. It's going to be 5 o'clock at the theater, and then it'll be shortly after on YouTube. And then after that, it's time for the finale. That's it.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, we got 12 episodes. We've got 2 episodes left.
Wait, what? How many people are left?
There's 9 left, so I guess we'll see how many go home in this next episode. So make sure to stay tuned.
Gosh, I'm so stoked. So 9 people left, 2 episodes left. Friends, if you are up there in Minneapolis, you definitely should check it out at the theater. I'm envious that I can't watch Survivor on a big screen with you, but I'll be there in spirit on YouTube every single week. Check it out. Cam, thanks so much for joining us. It's wonderful to see you again.
Of course, it was an honor to talk about this traumatic experience with y'all. Sucks that the 3 most handsome men were voted off right away, back to back to back.
Brutal.
I'm sure that they'll find a way to keep playing.
And Elder, thanks so much for joining us as well. And we will. I know on the finale, are we bringing everybody back, Alex? Do you know if we've organized this yet with Naomi?
Naomi is in the process of figuring it out. I don't know. We'll see. I guess we'll
see.
We'll get as many people as we can. There's also people coming in for the finale. So if anybody wants to fly into Minneapolis and watch the final episode on the big screen, feel free to do it. It's going to be a party.
What's the date for the finale? 2 weeks.
It's actually, we're going to do a 3-week break just because there's so much content we got to get in. We're having the editors go as they go. Big shout out to the editors.
Oh, yeah.
So it'll be February 20th is when we are going to have the finale. It's a week after Super Bowl Sunday, if anybody watches football.
Okay, cool. So Alex, just really quick, who are the editors for Live to Give?
Oh, we got a lot now.
Really
quick, it's Hunter, Dom, Lucas, Luke, Naomi, and Jorge.
Oh my gosh.
I hope I didn't miss anybody. If I missed anybody, I'm really sorry. I think I got everybody though.
The best editing team in our business. Fortunate to watch your episodes. Thank you guys for killing it, smashing it every week. If you have not already gone to Live to Give on Facebook, we want some more subs. So head over there, or on YouTube, head over there, subscribe, please. And before you leave, sub on us so you can get all the notifications on recaps of all things live reality games. Until next time, I'm Kirk. Talk to you soon.